to the ALC Town Hall meeting. Today we're going to feature Mary Tennant and John Davis here at the Town Hall meeting. And at the tables, there should be some cards. And I want you to pick up a card and come down front. I don't like those Methodists sitting in the back row. I like these Baptists sitting in the front row. I'm just kidding. And grab a card and write down any question that you would like to ask Mary Tennant and John Davis. You are so fortunate that you're going to get to ask them anything you want to ask them. And before John and Mary come out, I want to introduce you to one of our Keller Williams ALCs. I am so proud of these guys. We're showcasing the Glendale, California Market Center. Woo! Woo! Let's hear it for Glendale. Woo! And the team leader is Charles. Give him a wave. And one of the ALC members is Keith Sorum. Let me hear it. Come on. And I'm excited to introduce to you Salma Basravi. And this is Armina Gavion. All right, and I want you to know that the reason I chose this ALC is because they have come so far. Their profit last year was $300,000, and all of this profit was made from listing and selling rather than ancillary income. Their profit share was $130,000. Their owner profit was $171,000. And so it's a market center that many of you can really identify with. Sometimes when we have the million-dollar market centers up here, you go, we'll never reach that. But this is a market center who is on their way to the top. And their goal is, of course, to become a million-dollar market center, and you're a third way there.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, we all know that the ALC was created to make local policy decisions, of course. But in addition to that, the ALC was created so you could hang out with your team leader, Charles. So, tell me, how did y'all hang out?
Well, Mo, I'd like to take this one. We love hanging out with our team leader, Charles. I would say the first thing that comes to mind is on New Year's Day, he had a brunch for his ALCs, and we went over to his house, and he just served his hand and foot. I mean, he was there to serve his ALC, and we hung out. And then for Charles's birthday, the ALC had a picnic under the stars at a Philharmonic at the park, and we had New Year's Christmas Day. We had Christmas parade, and then we had the tree lighting where we all came together because our office is in a location where there's a huge tree. It's like a strip mall. It's like it's a really beautiful place. And so we were all together. So we had several opportunities.
And so those are wonderful social ways that you can hang out. But Charles, why is it so important to you to hang out with your chosen ones?
Well, not only just for me, but also for all team leaders, it's really about relationship building. Because when you build a relationship and you learn what the big why is, you help people in the ALC hold them accountable to their big why.
And you hold them accountable to their big why, but you first have to find out what it is.
Yeah.
Now, the second reason the ALC was created was to take your leadership skills to the next level. So how does Charles help you get your leadership skills to the next level.
Okay.
What does he do?
I would like to take on this one. So we have 2 meetings a month, and in one of the meetings we are studying John Maxwell's 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership.
Could you hear that? Okay, good.
Which is a very, very strong skill building tool. The second thing that we do is we have an open book reporting about our production, both on our business production and our recruiting. And every month we have to discuss in our ALC meeting our production or lack of it. And if we haven't done it, we have to say what are we planning to do in order to meet that goal. I also put it in my office board, so when the agents are walking in, they can see it. And that's a good point of conversation with them, so they will know that what they have to do in order to expand their business and grow their business.
Great. And Selma, what about you?
Oh, what I have seen that this, the fact that Charles has supported us in our leadership roles and being on the ALC, when I'm involved with the community outside of the office, it reflects my leadership qualities and my able to serve people outside of the office. For example, the shelter for battered women. When Red Day came up, before it was me running around like a chicken with my head cut off because I wanted to control everything, I wanted to do it all. But now we have a huge committee, so it's getting this better things done without getting tired and just delegating and leveraging that.
And you learned that from his leadership.
Absolutely. Yeah, as a result of him holding us accountable, because he saw us running, at least he saw me running myself really ragged with all these events.
In all these different directions, and now you're focused, and now you can really accomplish what you want with the battered women's group.
And the children's hospital.
Awesome. Well, the third reason that the ALC was created was so that the ALC members could get their share of the gift. So, Keith, what are you doing to get your share of the gift?
Well, the common word here, I think, Mo, is accountability. We have 2 different ALC meetings, and Charles spends one meeting going over a spreadsheet. It has your production, but it also has the number of people in your front line. So he causes that to be top of forehead presence. And I'll give you an example. I was in bold calling expired listings, and occasionally the number would be an agent. I started prospecting the agent, and of course I'd call back later and say, you know, Charles and I were talking, and we want to call you to thank you for being a professional, being an ethical realtor. Would you take his call when he calls? That helped. The other thing, we were actually at dinner last night, and I was watching the bartenders working, and she was very well organized, very professional. I said, how long have you been bartending? She said, 11 years. And I said, how did you get here? Oh, I ran a couple bars in Texas, and I'm working here. I said, do you ever think of doing anything else? She goes, like what? I said, I think you might be a great realtor. He has caused us to always be thinking about expanding our front line.
Wow, that's pretty powerful. You're even trying to recruit the ex-bartender.
That's
Great.
Well, Mo, I hold them accountable not only because of their downline is very important to them, but their big why feeds that. And it's not their money; it's their big why's money, because most of their big whys are money related. And trust, you can buy some pretty big whys. But one of our ALC members, Kathy, who isn't here today, her big why is her granddaughter Pacey. So every time we go over the numbers, I'm like, so how much is Pacey making? And it puts it in perspective for her. She's got her 15 on her mirror when she's prospecting, and she is constantly present of mind.
And she has 15 on her mirror to remind her
Constantly.
that that's the immediate goal. That's awesome. Well, we all know that the 4 things that an ALC should focus on, of course, is growth, productivity, profitability, and culture. So how does your ALC, Keith, drive growth?
Well, I would say first accountability, because we know that it's an expectation that's been clearly defined by Charles, that you'll walk into our office and the office doors will say, do not disturb lead generation time from 9 a.m. to 12 noon. And when you walk into the market center at 9 a.m., you're going to see the ALC on the phone, lead generating. We have big glass windows so they can either have the door open or they can look inside, seeing us at work. And one of the things we've learned is that it's not our job to recruit. That was originally sort of, I think, a turnoff. But the way Charles works, it's more a matter of influence. And we can promise people that when he calls, he's not going to recruit them. And we've now come to a mutual understanding that it's okay and we're expected to refer people we think are of a high quality. And then Charles is going to take care of them, but he's not going to recruit them. He's going to build a relationship and take it from there.
I tell him straight out that I'm going to ask you to come, asking you to come to Keller Williams will be the last thing I do. And it is.
And it will be the last thing you do in your process. That's awesome. So you're really, really focused on 15. And it's that guy who reminds you. Is he ever tough with any of you if you don't give him a lead during the course of a week? Yes.
Abrasive.
Oh, no.
It's true, Charles. And but tough love, you know what? He is the first team leader we've had that has explained to us it's for our own good. It's like eating your vegetables or flossing. It's for your own good.
Yeah.
Accountability is not intended to be comfortable.
Correct.
Say that again.
Accountability is not intended to be comfortable.
Everybody say that with him.
Accountability is not intended to be comfortable.
I really like that. Can I quote you? Well, how do you drive productivity in your market center, Armina?
Okay, I will just take what you just said about accountability. The fact that we have to be accountable for our production as ALC members, that trickles down to our agent community because we have to be productive. This year, about 60% of our ALC members attended BOLD training, just this year. And I think that was a good representation to all our other agents to see that if ALC members are attending this kind of training, they have to go and give it a chance and improve, increase their production. I think we are all, as ALC members, very clear as to where our production has to be, both as individuals, as office, and that really affects the agents in our office. You can see it.
Mel, I want to tell you also about our BOLD, because y'all, this is a shameless plug. Is Dave Jones in the room? Hello, I see you. I heard you were here. Dave Jones was our MAPS coach, and we had a goal of 75 participants, and he said, well, if you can do 75, you can do 100. And we had 105 participants at our goal, which was awesome. But we've even topped that. We had 100% participation. We had 100% graduation. And we had 100% participation in the 100 contacts. And as a result, we were the first, I'm told, to be actually called on site by Diana Kokowska herself. And she actually sent an edible arrangement to feed the room. So you can imagine it took 3 people to carry it. But it was really a red letter day for us.
Charles, what's your take on, Keith, what's your take on driving productivity?
I think one of the biggest things that Charles has done is he's actually come to us as from contribution. He says, we'll take your 411, put your business plan goals into there, and it also jives with the one thing. What are the habits that you intend to create to build your business? So we sit down with him once a month. We know we're going to meet with him. And the problem is, as in many cases, before if we didn't hit our numbers, there wasn't really a consequence. And he's got this spreadsheet. It's up on his door so everybody can see it. And it's got where you're supposed to be at that time and whether you're up behind or you're ahead. And it's very unnerving to know that you're going to have the conversation. And the first time we sat down, it was very, very stressful. However, what I learned is that Charles isn't really there to hurt me. He's actually there to figure out what we need to do, what I can do to change the way I'm conducting my business. And it's been very helpful to sit down and actually sort of troubleshoot or problem solve, as opposed to you're not hitting your numbers, you're an idiot. He was very, very positive. And now we can go to him. It creates more synergy in the office because we can actually go to say, okay, this is our plan. I'm trying this. This is not working, or this is working great. Now what do we do? It's a very powerful tool. And using the 411 once a month with Charles is a big, big help.
And the secret of my success is that I hold them accountable to their personal goals. Because if you hold them accountable to the personal goals, the business will follow, as our motto says.
Wow. Did you hear that? Say wow.
Wow.
It would be really interesting to do a survey to see how many of our team leaders know what their personal goals are. And of course, those should be on the 411.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. Anything else y'all want to say about productivity?
I'd like to add one more thing, and that is I had a newer agent. We were talking after one of our team meetings, and she said, you know, I've started coming into work earlier. And I said, really? She goes, yeah. I said, well, why is that? Well, I noticed that the top producers come in early. So unlike some real estate offices where people don't roll in until 10, at 8:30 or 9 o'clock, we have a full office and everyone's working. And obviously, leading by example works.
Did y'all do that before Charles?
Nope.
No. So how did you get that to happen, Charles?
Actually, our OPs are really enormously huge on prospecting, and they really do drive that home in our office, and they're very active in our office. And one of our OPs does a expired boot camp. And within the expired boot camp, it is extremely stringent. It is called boot camp for a reason. And it does set up some really good skills for people, and it just carries through. People continue on. It's Power Hour wasn't nearly as effective, and the boot camp really did instigate this habit.
And they're top producers.
Absolutely.
And so it was the top producers doing it, and it trickled down to the ALC doing it, which trickled down to this new agent.
Leading by example.
Well, and we used to be a buying-based office. Now we're more of a balanced listing and buying-based office. And they've said it's because you folks have taught us how to list.
That is awesome. And this just proves my point. The ALC is really that small group that demonstrates the behaviors you want to see in a market center. So Charles wanted to see prospecting, and he got the OPs to model it, and then it happened. That's really exciting. How do you drive profitability in your market center?
Okay, so if every business is meaningless without profit, and business has to be run by revenue. So two things that it's dawned on me a while back was, first of all, I have to look in to my revenue and to my expenses. So I did two things. One is I had to give up my convertible Beamer.
You had to give up
My
what?
convertible
Your
BMW.
convertible BMW.
Because I looked at my expenses and I looked at my income and I said, honey, that Beamer belongs to some dealership, not to your garage. So I gave it up. I got my Toyota Camry, the good one. And I really felt very comfortable because I thought, you know what, at this point, I really need to cut expenses in my business. Because that's what we have been taught. It just dawned on me 2-3 years ago. The other thing that I started to think about is, I met somebody who had made $50,000 in his profit share. And I thought, if that person can do $50,000, I'm going to be that person a few years down the road, but I can start now. So getting my downline in order and focusing on my downline was the second thing that I did in order to bring production to the business, to my business, and to our market center.
So you got rid of the expensive car,
Yes.
and you got a really good car.
Really, it's a really nice model.
So what she's not telling you is that this is all brought about on the way to a local event. There was another agent sitting in the back seat. I was in the front seat with her. And she was talking about how she downsized, and this was all good for her that she was doing this, keeping herself accountable to her personal P&L. And I said, well, if you're recruiting on a regular basis and you're influencing people to come to the market center, you could be making 2 or 3 BMW payments just with your profit share.
No, because
and
my
sure enough,
profit-
now that's what she's doing.
Yeah.
She's our top
Because
profit share earner.
I want my profit share to go to my investment portfolio, not to my car payment.
Say that again, because I want every person in this room to hear it.
Because my profit share has to go toward my investment portfolio. And I'm proud to say that it has, because I bought my second fixer.
It didn't go to a car
No,
payment.
no.
That's awesome. Oh, I love that.
And the personal P&L is the next thing that we're going to be doing with our ALC. We've evolved to this point, and that is really, it's the next thing on our list to do.
Well, how do you guys drive culture in your market center? Keith?
Well, it wouldn't surprise you that there's another accountability program Charles has come up with. There's nothing easy. There's nothing simple. He always has a program, and he holds us accountable.
With Jesse.
That's right. We each have a list of, I would say, 10 to 15 associates in the office, and it's our job to communicate them on a regular basis. And we found one of the best things we can do is remind them to come to the team meeting. Charles does a great job running the team meetings. They're fast-paced. There's always food. It's always fun, and we end on time, which I think is a big, big thing. And I even had one agent email me back going, "Thanks for inviting me. Now I know there's lunch. I'm going to be there." Sometimes people just want to be reminded.
That's awesome. Armina?
And, okay, so
How
our
do you drive
office,
culture?
our office is very, very diverse as far as culture and ethnicities are concerned. And of course, coming from different nationalities, different cultures, we all have different way of communicating, communication. And I think we're a very small United Nation in our office, and so is our ALC. And sometimes when we have an idea or issue that we have to discuss in our ALC, it may seem like a clash of ideas, but really it's a learning skill of understanding a different culture. Because we all have a different standard or norm for expressing our opinions or, what communication should be like. And I think we are learning. We are learning from each other, and it's a great value because what it does is it makes us take that into our agent community and from there to our clientele community. Because if we are from Far East, now we have somebody in our ALC, we know how to understand their communication skill and so on. So I think it has been a very, very strong and positive thing for us.
So you're our United Nations
We are our small United Nations.
Our office is extremely collaborative. Everything we do is in an effort to come from contribution.
Yeah.
So across the board, and I think that really does show in the culture of our office.
Share 2 or 3 of your best culture stories. Share 2 or 3 of them. Keith?
Well, Mo, as you know, my wife and I, Pam, are actually having our business planning meeting with Charles in December of 2012. And my daughter was visiting a friend, and they were going to go to the hospital to see a baby being born, a friend of theirs. And while my daughter was visiting, unfortunately, the young lady's mother got very sick. They went to the hospital, and she died. And during our meeting with Charles, we're getting these texts saying, "What do we do? What do we do?" And it was an amazing thing. Her father had been missing for most of her life, came back the year before, and his contribution before he committed suicide was to basically be in their life for about a month. That provided some money for them to live. But the problem was, with the mother passing on and then the father dead, there was no one to take care of them. And were it not for my daughter bringing it to our attention, we wouldn't have known. And we happened to be sitting with Charles. He goes, "Well, what do you think we should do?" Well, they needed help immediately. They had to pay rent. They had to have food for groceries. They were living on a very, very meager budget. And we sat down at the ALC, and the ALC was like the first domino. Because we had money from raising KW Cares funds, we were able to help immediately. And it was a great community event, too, because what we ended up doing was being able to get an interview with a local newspaper with the young children the youngest was an 8th grader, the eldest was a junior in high school. From that, we were able to raise about $8,000 to help pay for the funeral, the autopsy, rent, other things that they needed. And the best part was now she is going into her 2nd semester in a nursing program at Glendale Community College. Her brother is attending, he is a sophomore year at Hoover High School. And it was just a wonderful thing to watch the community come together, but it was like strategic alliances. We were able to bring everybody in a very short period, raise the money, and help that family.
So that is just a beautiful outside the market center culture story, something you did for someone outside your own market center. Now, Selma, can you give me an inside culture story, like maybe something about Red Day?
On Red Day, we started actually in our parking lot. And it was a very small Red Day the first year we did it. And it grew, and the city got involved. So now we moved our location from our parking lot to the shelter location, actually, and it's become a citywide event. And Mo, I just wanted to touch on something. Culture is not just one day in a year. It's every month, every day. Actually, one day it was so hot, and I saw that Charles disappeared for a while. And then he shows up with popsicles, ice cream. He bought it for $12, and he went around selling it to the agents, and he made like $124 for KW Cares. So this was just in a matter of 20 minutes. And so it's about what we do every single day. And within the office, we had a big bin to help the puppies and the kittens at the shelter, the Humane Society. So even the clients that came in felt compelled to bring blankies with them, or they would say, "Can I just come back and drop it off?" So that was good.
Anything else?
It's really important to have diversity in the strategic alliances you make with culture and with charities, because there's not everyone in the office is going to want to align themselves with a battered woman shelter or with the Humane Society for whatever reason. They have their own beliefs and their own systems. So it's better to go after the smaller baby steps than the big rocks all the time. So if you have multiple days of different charities that you do, and it offers an opportunity to just pepper that out, then it really does show the culture, and especially in our community, it really, don't discount what happened with Ashley that Keith was talking about. It started a movement in our city. It involved the Rotary Club. It involved every charitable organization was bringing this group up as a result of us pushing that first domino. It's a big deal.
And now what does that do to the culture inside the Market Center? When you do all of this good outside the Market Center?
It does this. It keeps it together. It turns what I call our offices, when we moved into our office a little over a year ago, I strategically placed a sign over a door, and I only recently pointed it out, but the sign over the door says Hotel California. And the reason for that is because you can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave.
That's awesome. Now, Charles, I've got some questions for you real quick. Do you have a criteria for ALC membership in your Market Center?
Absolutely.
What is it?
That is, we follow the covenants of the given to us in the ALC clinic. First and foremost is you have to attend the ALC clinic. That ours happens in October, and that is the very first way of making sure that everyone's committed. And we actually had one agent that was supposed to be coming to the ALC clinic and sort of self-discovered and self-sabotaged herself out of it. And the only response I could give her was, rather than coaching her through it, was to just say, we'll miss you. We'll miss you. And she was coached off.
So do you have to, is BOLD a requirement?
BOLD's a requirement to be involved in BOLD, also to be involved in either in family reunion or a regional event. This year, I'm really pushing FSO because I personally went to FSO, and it is fantastic to be one-on-one, face-to-face with the leadership of this office or this organization. And so a lot of our ALC, the reason why they're not sitting on this stage is they've already committed to going to FSO this year.
And so, of course, family reunion is a requirement.
Absolutely.
But you're also doing FSO. Boy, that's awesome. Do you require that your member have somebody in their downline?
Absolutely.
Before they come on?
Absolutely. They have to start with their downline. And the majority of the people in our ALC have actually grown their downline since October as well, just through peer pressure for the most part.
Charles, I've heard your agents talk about the promise. And I'm curious, what is the promise?
When they signed the covenants of the ALC, I made a personal promise to them, and that is that they are going to each take home no less than $100,000 while they're here on the ALC, as well as get to 15 as fast as possible. So that's when we're talking about that spreadsheet. That's the come to Jesus moment promise of let's keeping you in line with your accountability, and that is to $8,350 in personal take-home minimum a month, which now most of them have doubled in their minds, so they're really hard on themselves even when they're doing well.
Have you ever consulted anybody off the
Absolutely.
ALC? How did that go?
Well, it was actually, you have to know the difference between coaching someone off and identifying them self-sabotaging or self-discovering. And if that's the case, they don't understand the value of it. You can do your best to share the value of it. And for some, it's just drinking from a fire hose. It's just too much. So at that point, you have to just love them and leave them.
So let's pretend I'm an ALC member, and have I been naughty, or have I, what's my problem?
For the most part, it's really about not attending what's
so
required.
let's say that I have missed too many meetings. So show me how you would boot me off.
By the second one, it's 3 meetings is our limit, and because we have 2 meetings a month, we have a meeting in the first of the month, which is I have a today for you, tomorrow for me kind of mentality. Today, the first meeting is all about you, learning leadership, your accountability to your goals, to your big why and your productivity. And the second meeting of the month is all about the market center, the committees, and all the things that are needed to grow the market center specifically.
So boot me off.
So booting you off would be, I would first counsel you.
No, just talk to me and boot me off.
We're scripting, Mo. Okay, good.
Say, Mo.
Mo, dear, I know that you are really involved in the ALC, and I know that you're committed to being a leader. And unfortunately, your behavior is not warranting the behavior of a leader, leading by example. It is really important, and you did agree and commit to being a part of this ALC and all the covenants that are a part of it. Is there a reason why you're not wanting to fulfill your obligation?
I'm just really busy.
Well, busy is good, and busy is fantastic, and we embrace the busy. And the whole point is that we all want to be busy, and we all want to be even busier than we are. And in this group, is what we're trying to kick you off. Here's your hat. What's your hurry? No, but
because we're running out of time.
Okay, all right. Sorry, 2 seconds. And the Oscar music comes. Well, I'm sorry that's the case, and we'll miss you.
That's a great way to boot me off. Charles, tell me one thing that you love about being the leader of these leaders.
I love that I have the privilege and the honor and the trust to lead a group of individual leaders, not an individual group of leaders.
Say that again. That's powerful.
I lead a group of individual leaders, not an individual group of leaders.
Wow. That means you have a relationship
Absolutely.
with each one. Well, I just want to tell you, Glendale, that I know how far you've come.
Yes, ma'am, you do.
I do. And I am so proud of you because of all of the ALCs that I've consulted. You are probably the best at implementing the systems in our ALC model, and I'm just so thrilled with you, and I can't wait to see what's going to happen in your market center in the next 2 years. So thank you. I love you, and I'm proud. Thank you. Give them a hand. And now, everybody, will you welcome